Souls Unitarian Universalist Church, building community, inspiring growth, creating change. Here in the heart of Kansas City, we come together to create this hour of shared reflection so that we might be renewed in courage for these times and inspired to lives of greater dignity, higher purpose, deeper generosity, and more effective action. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to our congregation, we want to get to know you and share part of your journey. If this place is already your spiritual home, welcome once more. We need one another, and it is good to be together again. Because we care for one another's safety, our congregation is gathering online during this long season of coronavirus pandemic. Nevertheless, through the gifts of technology, we continue to celebrate community and connections as we lean into the values of justice, compassion, and reason. Together, we learn the love that has the power to overcome both loneliness in the heart and oppression in the world. Welcome to our service this morning. May the words and music and images that we offer today nourish our best selves, calling forth abundant wisdom and love. The web that holds us here onto the earth and into community is woven of gossamer threads, slight strands of connection and care that may seem trivial and fragile individually, but taken together, they form a strong bond, a web of interdependence that means none of us is dispensable. We need each other, and we are each needed. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in love, says the old hymn, and it is true. As we welcome the newcomers and the newborn, as we remember and honor the departed, as we reach out to support this congregation and the works of compassion in this city with our generosity, as we make small gestures of greeting and care to one another, as we seek justice and the end of disenfranchisement and harm in our society, in all these ways and others, we weave the web of connection that keeps us from isolation and despair. We build the house of welcome to all people of goodwill and invites us into the communities of seekers to serve our ideals and to help others, to celebrate our journeys in struggle, in transformation, and in peace. Good morning, and welcome to this virtual gathering of All Souls Unitarian Universalist Church of Kansas City on this April 18th Sunday, 2021. This morning, our hearts are again heavy with grief and outrage, remembering Dante Wright of Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, and Adam Toledo from Chicago's West Side, a young Black man and a young Black boy, both shot and killed by police officers, even as we await with anxiety the outcome of the trial of Derek Chauvin, the Minneapolis police officer who snuffed out George Floyd's life last May. And on top of all this, news of another mass shooting, this time in Indianapolis, leaving 8 dead, 4 of them recent Sikh immigrants, and 5 wounded, as well as another fatal police shooting in Portland, Oregon on Friday. Something is deeply wrong with our culture of fear, violence, and guns, and toxic inherited privilege that creates this endless sequence of killings, especially of our Black neighbors. It extends unbroken back through the assassinations of civil rights leaders and workers, to the gruesome lynchings of the Jim Crow era, to the Ku Klux Klan-inspired terrorism of the post-Civil War South, to the dehumanization and inhumanity of centuries of American slavery. This pattern carries a legacy that must be recognized, acknowledged, and repented before it can be healed. Our communities of faith should be places of historical reflection and awareness, anamnesis, the theologians call it, the holy practice of not forgetting. Our communities of faith should be places of accountability, confession, and repentance, where our ideals and values, not our comfort, are the measure of what is good. Our communities of faith should be places of binding hope and committed search for new possibilities of sacred connection, compassion, right relationship, and peace. Our communities of faith should be houses of welcome, safe harbors on the journey where all that is human can be explored and assessed, healed, redeemed, transformed, and celebrated. We gather in this congregation to create such a harbor and house of welcome for the spirit of life within each of us and in the community that we weave together. We kindle this chalice flame in token of that invitation. So that we might share our heartbreak and our fury, our struggle and our fear, as well as the hope and love that lie beneath it all, summoning us to works of mercy and witness, to acts of humble courage and connection, to lives of commitment, resilience, and deep joy. I invite you now to share in the chat where your light shines this morning, following which we will speak the words of our covenant and lift our voices together in song. You might also want to locate the postcard that you received this week. Now let's join together in speaking once again our covenant promises to this community. Together we affirm, goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. I'm Kendyl Gibbons, and I'm here with Andrea Johnson, the president of our board, and this is Max Sheffield Baird, who's one of our members, and this is Max's son, Byron. And we have a custom when we have a new baby in our congregation of getting together to do a quilt in a day baby shower. But Byron was born last year on the magical day of February 29th, and then COVID hit, so we never really had a chance to do his shower. And we had to kind of figure out how to put the quilt things together in kits and hand them out. Yes, it's yours. Hand them out to the members of the congregation to put together. So it took us a little while, but we are finally ready to present Byron's quilt, and we know that his nursery has an outer space theme. So our quilt patches all have outer space stars and rocket ships and stuff like that. So this is for you. Yeah. And there's what it looks like. All done on the front.
All the rockets.
And then, oops, wait a minute, I think I have it upside down. Then on the back,
wow,
it's a whole universe in
That's
a quilt
so awesome.
there. So we hope that'll go with the rest of your nursery there. So I'm going to give you that. And oh yeah, there we go. See, I said it was for you. Yes. Peekaboo. Yes. And I just want to say thank you to Margaret Drinkwine, Joyce Emery, Floyd Williams, Melanie Yackel, Barbara Griggs, Diane Cassidy, Barbara Lee, who all worked on making these squares, the blocks for the front, and then Jane Wilson, who put them together in the quilt top, and Cynthia Butcher, who put the backing on and the binding so that it would be finished. Because we know that Byron is going to be having a little bit of surgery later this spring, and so we want him to have his quilt so that he knows, and you know, Max, that both of you are held in our love and concern for the rest of this spring and beyond, and he's going to be an important part of our community growing up. So.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
I did. He affirmed it.
Yeah, he did. He said yes. So we hope you enjoy your quilt. Okay, he has a few words to say. What do you think?
Is that your thank you?
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. I wish everyone in the congregation looked at me that intently.
You're smiling too.
Yes, he is. He likes it. Yes. Thank you for coming to see us.
Yeah, we're going to be coming here a lot more.
Yeah, right.
A Blessing for Hope on World AIDS Day by Maureen Killoran. It has been a long struggle, and our work is far from over. As we go forth, may we be empowered by the Spirit of hope and healing, whose one name is God, and whose other name is love. May the blessings of love be upon us and within us. May love's truth be upon our vision. May love's wisdom dwell within our heart. May love's persistence inspire our lips. May love's gentleness give comfort to our bodies. May love's gratitude accompany our sleep. May love's healing be a balm for our brokenness. May love's serenity give peace to our weary souls. May love's confidence energize our minds. May love's challenge keep us faithful. Faithful in our struggle, faithful in our conviction that justice and hope and wholeness will ultimately transform our world and ourselves.
Good morning. My name is Calvin Pugh, and I am the lead peer educator for Casey Care Health Center. I have had the incredible privilege of working alongside the AIDS Service Foundation of Greater Kansas City and AIDS Walk for the last several years. This year's AIDS Walk theme is Walk to Stop HIV Stigma. This June will mark 40 years since the first cases were reported in the United States that would begin the AIDS crisis. In 40 years, we've made incredible advancements in science. We've gone from losing an entire generation of mentors, lovers, friends, and family members to today, when a young person is newly diagnosed and on effective treatment, they will not only have a normal life expectancy, but they can no longer transmit HIV to their sexual partners or their unborn children. Undetectable equals untransmittable, or you equals you. However, the fear and shame of an HIV-positive diagnosis to this day is the greatest barrier to ending this epidemic once and for all. This stigma disproportionately affects women, Black Americans, and other marginalized communities, keeping them from seeking testing, treatment, and prevention services. If nothing else, 2020 showed us that our healthcare and support systems are incredibly fragile when us and our families and our neighbors need it the most. It is now more important than ever before that quality healthcare and support services be available to everyone in our community, especially those living with and at risk for HIV. The money donated to AIDS Walk goes directly to support the 4 organizations in Kansas City that ensure that those services can be provided with dignity, cultural humility, and without discrimination. We must treat HIV stigma like the crisis that it is today, for future generations, and in the memory of those who are no longer with us today. Thank you.
Well, hi. You caught me on my walk. Many times I wear a suit while I'm doing a walk around the neighborhood because I'm getting ready to walk for AIDS Walk, the 33rd annual one. That's right. And you can too. All you have to do is go to AIDS Walk Kansas City. That's all I know. I don't even know our website, but I bet you can look it up on Facebook. What? Oh, I see friends ahead. I gotta go.
Let's say together the words of dedication for our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build a respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society. We have celebrated one of the newest members of our All Souls community with Byron's Space Quilt, and we have continued our tradition of supporting those in our city who are living with HIV/AIDS by contributing to the annual AIDS Walk. Now I invite you to help us weave one more strand to strengthen the web that continues to connect us during what we deeply hope are the last days and weeks of this pandemic time. If you are part of our membership database, you should have received a mailing from All Souls during the past week with a blank, pre-addressed and stamped postcard enclosed. Should look something like this. There are several different images. It's quite possible that you already know the person your card is going to, and that's great. It may also be headed to someone you have not met yet, and that's fine too. If you didn't receive a postcard, you can pull out a piece of note paper. And if you have a church directory, you can pick your own recipient. If you don't, send your note to the All Souls office, and we will make sure it reaches a member who is alone these days. Go ahead and grab that postcard and a pen right now. I invite you to think for a moment about all that you miss from not being together in person at church. It may be the singing, or the hugs, or perhaps the food, or watching spring come to our grounds, or seeing the little ones growing up before our eyes, or sharing the stories and wisdom of the elders, or being inspired to work for justice, or taking time to reflect and weigh the balance of our lives. What will you be looking forward to when we are able to be with each other in person again? Take this moment to tell the person your postcard is addressed to what you hope to share with them in the seasons ahead. Perhaps you will continue to be part of our online community. That is something to look forward to as well. Be sure to sign your name clearly so that your correspondent will be able to know who you are. Encourage them to stay hopeful and strong as we look forward to being together again before long. After that, a few of our members will share some thoughts about their pledges for the coming year. We hope that you will put your postcard in tomorrow's mail and look for the one that somebody is writing to you to arrive later this week. One more connection, one more strand in the web that our congregation weaves. Music, maestro?
Hey, Tori, I hear congratulations are in order. You signed a membership card today.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Awesome. So I knew you grew up in a UU church. What made you decide to join?
Well, church is super duper fun, and I wanted to be a member when the church decides to make all of our documents gender inclusive. That's really important to me.
Ah, that's a good thing. So I hear you also filled out a pledge card to support our budget next year. Thank you so much for that.
You betcha.
So do you mind if I ask how much you pledged?
Nope, I pledged $5 a month. I just graduated high school and got a job a few months ago at the bunker. I'm still trying to figure out the whole budgeting thing.
Ah, well, that's the part of being an adult. So how do you plan on paying your pledge, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, I set up a reoccurring payment plan with Breeze. I can't forget it that way.
Ah, that's a great idea. Did you know that we can support our church budget with an average of just $100 per month per member? We've got lots of members that donate way more than that with their regular pledges. So every little bit that you can give helps support our church budget.
Lamar and Dixie.
Hi.
Good morning.
Thanks for taking the time to chat with me. It's that time of year when we plan the budget for the fiscal year that starts in July. So I just wanted to have a little conversation about stewardship and pledges. How long have you two been members?
Well, we started coming to the church in the political campaign of 2003. We've really felt that we needed to get with a group of people who shared our values, that we could talk openly with progressives about politics and so forth, that we hadn't been able to do in our school climate. So immediately we started getting included in classical grapes, and people invited us to dinner for 8, and we started making the friends that have made us have this really close commitment to All Souls. It is our community and our home here.
Excellent. I love to hear that. It's always great to hear about the different friendships and things that people find. Before we go any further, let me thank you for renewing your pledge letter this year, or your pledge this year. It's very much appreciated. Russ talked about how pledges like Tori's are balanced by larger pledges like yours. And so we totally appreciate that you do that. Why do you think it's important to support All Souls financially?
My real understanding of the finances of a church came when I came on the board of directors. And I served on the board for 5 years and was vice chair and chair of the board.
Thank you.
Of course, you feel the awesome responsibility of providing the services and all the things that makes up a complexity of a church like ours. And of course, all of the services that people give, the time that they give, it's amazing how much our church members give to the church. And yet we struggle with budgets for as long as I can remember there, and I was fortunate enough to be on the board when we obtained our current minister, senior minister, Reverend Kendyl Gibbons. And what a wonderful person, but it's a market for good ministers. And in order for us to get what we really desired, we had to make the commitment to bring her here. And we've never been sorry ever that we did that.
Agreed.
So it goes, and we have wonderful staff. As you know, they do so much for us, whether we're in the church or whether we're out online. They just continue to amaze me. To me, the basics is for a church to operate well, we need to have as many ongoing monthly pledges as we can, regardless of the amount. The church leadership, meaning the board and the minister, has to have some idea of how much money is committed to operate our church every year. And that's why I hope that more and more people will make it part of their budget, which is what we do. We just simply budget that amount. We have it come out automatically from our checking, and it helps us, and I hope it helps the church. And every member that could do that would be really, really appreciated, I think.
I couldn't have said that better myself. And you mentioned in there that you have it set to come out of your account. You used Breeze to do that, our new online system, right?
We do. Uh-huh.
And you found that really easy and a good way to set that up?
Oh, extremely easy to keep track. And yes, it's a wonderful system. And I think the church has good instructions on how one goes about that, or if they don't, they can contact certainly any of the members that work there, and they'll help them get it set up for them.
Very true. Thank you. So thanks again for taking the time to chat with me, and thanks for your pledge of ongoing support. We hope that all of our members and longtime friends make a commitment to the church and encourage everyone to make sure their pledge still fits their budget. If you need to adjust it down or up, please do so. And if you haven't made a pledge to help us plan the budget, please do that now. Whether it's $5 a month like Tori, or larger gifts like Dixie and Lamar give, all gifts are generous and appreciated. To help us know what to anticipate, click the link in the chat or click the big blue button on our homepage and look for the pledge form in the bottom section. Thanks again.
Thanks, Andrea, for all you do for our church. You've done a great job this year. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We are not alone, earth forms us, human leaves on nature's growing vine, fruit of many generations, seeds of life divine. We are not alone, earth names us, past and present, peoples near and far, family and friends and strangers, show us who we are. Therefore let us make thanksgiving, and with justice willing and aware, give to earth and all things living liturgies of care. Let us be a house of welcome, living stones upholding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not alone.
A couple of weeks ago, this post appeared on the progressive social network Kansas City Facebook group. "Hello all," it said. "My family and I are looking for a new church. We are hoping to find one that is inclusive and diverse, particularly toward LGBTQ+, immigrants, and multiracial families. Exceptional music and children youth programs are also important to us. It would be a bonus to us if there is a choir, band, orchestra, and or if it is within 20 minutes of the Northland. I'm starting to believe we are hunting for a unicorn church. Do you all have any recommendations?" Among a great many responses, several posters recommended All Souls, which caused someone else to reply, "When I attended there with my Black daughters, we felt pounced upon and got too much attention. Sometimes we just want to go to church." Another person commented, "Sometimes white folks are just too welcoming, especially the progressive ones." And a third replied, "It's just a reminder that All Souls is a white space, always has been, always will be. Good that it's a welcoming one, but it's not diverse. Now, on the one hand, I'm happy for us to be named as a candidate for the Unicorn Church. But on the other hand, it is sad to me that the church described should be considered a rare thing. What this family is seeking is what many progressive congregations, including pretty much all UU churches, hope to offer: diversity, inclusivity, LGBTQ plus, immigrant and multiracial friendly, with exceptional music and programs for children and youth. It is something that I continue to believe many American families would value if they were confident that it actually existed and that they could find it. It was somewhat reassuring to me after 9 years in this city that most of the other congregations recommended, including Shawnee Mission UU, were ones that I am more or less familiar with. I know who our co-conspirators are around here. At the same time, the series of comments about us that followed was a bit deflating, although pretty much inarguably true. The original post does not specify whether the family searching for a church is composed of or includes people of color, but they're looking for diversity in their religious community, a criterion which makes sense to me. We are more likely to grow in an environment which includes other people who are not just like us. Still, we have to be comfortable enough that we are willing to take the risks that lead to growth, which means that it is hard for new people to stick in a congregation where they are the only anything: person of color, transgender kid, unhoused, ex-offender, undocumented person, single parent, wheelchair user, under 30, over 50, whatever. I wish that I knew some kind of programmatic answer to this dilemma. Every minister colleague I know wishes that. The line between self-involved and neglectful, leaving first-time visitors to fend for themselves and feel ignored, and the kind of fawning, creepy overwelcome that leaves them feeling singled out and stalked, is faint and infinitely permeable. Finding the right balance on a case-by-case basis is a kind of uncommon relational talent. There's no formula, only a sensitivity to subtle cues, discerning when to be forthcoming and when to back off, when to share your own excitement and when to listen for what someone else is seeking, when to probe for information to connect to, and when to respect the desire for anonymity in the moment. There are logistical courtesies that we can practice, making sure that both in real life and in the virtual environment, our signage is accurate, so people know how to access what we offer. Remembering that although those who have been around for a while already know this stuff, still every week is Visitor Sunday, and someone new is trying to figure out what it's all about for the first time. We can eliminate barriers in our building and in our cultural assumptions so that we don't embarrass people with intrusive ideas that they work, that they are married, or that they can climb steps, that they go to school, that they have a standard address or constant internet access. We can learn to ask for and use preferred pronouns, for instance. There is, in other words, a sensible baseline that we need not fall below, but that alone does not make us a house of welcome to people different from ourselves. What then are we to do? I want to suggest two systemic rather than strategic goals that I suspect would have the happy side effect of increasing our congregation's appeal to random visitors and church shoppers. I have always believed that people who work together in the service of a goal larger than themselves become connected. It's all but inevitable. Even when they are not necessarily happy about it, the project creates a rueful set of shared memories. Trust me, in 20 years or so, when a generation has risen for whom COVID-19 is as much of an abstract anachronism as the Spanish influenza of 1918, you and I are going to be buying t-shirts proclaiming, "I survived the pandemic of 2020." And no one who didn't share this past year will be able to join that particular historical club. So shared suffering will do it. But for my preference, shared aspiration is better. Everything that we do to serve our larger civic environment and create change in our society draws us into the fabric of community, both with one another and with people outside our group. Spend an hour putting together ham and cheese sandwiches next to someone, and you will have a new acquaintance. Do that every week for a year, and you will know something about their life, their circumstances and dreams and worries, and they will know something about you. They will miss you if you are not there and be concerned. When you read a Facebook post about people who are hungry being fed, you will want to share that recognition with them. You will be pleased for them when their first grandchild is born or when they get a new job. The soft filaments of community will begin to weave. All of which is good and needful, but then take it one step further. Go hand out those sandwiches at a picnic for the houseless and food insecure for several weeks. Don't bring an agenda, just show up and let your attention be drawn to the people you see. Some of them will be volunteers like yourself, maybe from St. James Methodist or Grace and Holy Trinity Cathedral. You will start to figure out who our allies are out there with the food. Maybe people from communities or traditions you didn't think would care about these things. Other people you meet will be those you are there to serve. Some of them may be crazy, some of them tragic, some of them living such a different reality from yours that it seems like there is no way to connect. And the first thing you learn is to suspend judgment. Then some will be touchingly kind to each other and embarrassingly grateful to you. Some will be cheerful and funny and patient in incredibly challenging circumstances, and you will start to realize that it is not all about you helping them. Then the headlines will have faces, and their anger in confronting harmful policy decisions will make sense and become yours. And another kind of community will put out tendrils and begin to grow. Or go to Carver Dual Language Academy and help an 8-year-old student discover the skill and joy of reading and see the relief in her overworked teacher's eyes. Suddenly, the threat of ICE deportation raids here in our city will be personal. Or come and keep vigil in our lobby some frigid winter night while exhausted people who have nowhere else to go feel the blood flow back into their fingers and toes, and knowing that they will not lose them this night at least, nod off into a moment of relative safety and warmth. I predict you will read the pronouncements of city council members with different eyes after a couple of those nights. Or if you prefer, join the demonstrators down at Mill Creek Fountain and elsewhere. Listen to the organizers and speakers tell stories of what it is like to grow up Asian American in this city, or try to feed a family on $8 an hour. or to bury your black son after a run-in with police, or greet him after more than 20 years in prison for a crime he clearly did not commit. Go again the next time it happens, and the next, and the time after that. Start to recognize the same people after a while. Start to ask why the same tragedies keep happening. Or go attend the city council meetings and watch millionaire developers plead that they need tax abatements for their multi-million-dollar projects, while our neighborhood sidewalks crumble and our school teachers buy their own supplies out of their own meager paychecks. Do not, if you can possibly help it, do these things alone. Take somebody with you so you can remind each other why you came and what you learned. Take someone from this congregation and talk about what you believe in and what you might be called to do about it, and what it feels like to see your values become a little bit real in the world. And when you meet that visitor on Sunday morning, by all means, invite them to sit with you or chat on Zoom sometime. Invite them to lunch after church, either at church or at your favorite brunch spot, or offer to deliver their Sunday Plus meal. But add something like, I'm part of a group that makes sandwiches to give away on Thursday evenings. I would love to have you join us. Or, I'm going to a voting rights rally next Saturday. Would you like to come? Because here's the point. Even if they can't, or it's not their thing, it tells them something about what matters around here. It demonstrates that we have a focus beyond ourselves and our own comfort, even if we are primarily a white space and always have been. Maybe we won't always be, but I would rather be a community of integrity and service and authentic goodwill than a congregation anxious to decorate itself with diversity while avoiding being transformed by real relationships. That's the unicorn church, the one that really wants to grow and change in beloved community, not just to grow so that it can stay comfortably the same. The other systemic quality that would serve us well, in addition to being good public relations, is joyful generosity. I will never forget the person who once told a new member orientation group that he felt he had to try a particular congregation because he was driving by one time and everyone looked so happy coming out of the service. As Maya Angelou has told us, people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. We are, of course, going to rejoice greatly when it is safe for us to gather in person again. But you know, eventually the thrill is bound to wear off and we will start to take it for granted again and get testy about the dozens of little human annoyances that are always present whenever people have to deal with other people. Now, I'm not suggesting that we all go around with big fake smiles plastered on our faces at all times. I've seen communities like that, and they are creepy. There is plenty to be genuinely angry and sad about in the world, after all. But I wonder if we can save just a little portion of that great gratitude and celebration of being reunited after all these months of separation, and step back into it whenever we find ourselves challenged by the stress of change or the irritation of other folks' deficiencies. Can we remember what it was like when our hugs were risky and our singing was dangerous? Can we stay in touch with what a blessing it is to gather in person and breathe the same air without making each other sick? Can we remind ourselves to cherish the joyful gift of community, even as we confront the work and the friction of it? That is the unicorn congregation, the one that stays connected to both inner joy and outreach beyond itself. The one whose members are generous and faithful in their support because they feel themselves and each other changing and growing into the people they know they could be, and into the beloved community where each living stone upholds and supports the others to create a true house of welcome, where people and earth and all things living receive the liturgies of care that heal and bless. One great teacher almost 2,000 years ago said that we didn't have to search for it or wait for it, that community, said that it was already here right now within us and among us if we just knew how to look. Said that it was the poor and the downtrodden and the hungry and the grieving who knew it best. Said privilege was the thing you had to let go of to get there at last. People have built a lot of fancy churches over those lessons down the centuries, but rare are the ones who take him at his word, then or now. There is no perfect church, of course. Unicorns are mythical creatures, after all, and congregations are full of all too real, all too flawed people and ministers. But it is real, flawed people who actually build communities and then reach beyond themselves for a vision of greater justice and more abundant compassion and more transformative love. It is real people building actual communities who share hardships and rejoicing together, who become a house of welcome, who make a promise to each other to endure the risks of change together in order to serve a higher purpose. The world calls to us from the grip of violence and fear and old injustice renewed in destructive power. It calls us to be seekers of truth and servants of hope, to bear witness to the wrong that has been and to the good that might yet be. And we are not alone because we are not our own, but one another's, which is what we have been supposed to learn all along, I'm thinking. Let's sing it together.
We are not alone. living stones upholding living stone, gladly showing all our neighbors we are not alone.
Here, may the silken fibers of interdependence weave the bonds of beloved community thoroughly into our hearts and spirits. Here, may the liturgies of care redeem all tragedy into compassion and all suffering into righteous peace. Here, let us make thanksgiving and connection, that we may be a glad and generous people who live in belonging to the earth, to our neighbors, and to each other. So be it.
Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fires of commitment. For all these we carry in our hearts and minds until we shall be together again. Thank you for being with us and helping Web Connection this morning. We invite you to join us now for a few moments of informal conversation and fellowship at our Zoom social gathering. You can find the link in the chat here or on our All Souls website homepage. Be sure to mark your calendar for our online annual congregational meeting on May 16th, when we will elect new board members, vote on the budget for the coming fiscal year, and present awards to individuals and groups who have made outstanding contributions to the life of our community recently. We hope to see you again next Sunday when we will celebrate Earth Day 2021 with praise for the world of nature and reflection on the part that human beings play in that large web of interconnection. In the meantime, please, everyone, get your COVID vaccine as soon as you can. Take care, stay safe, and be well this week.